Chapter 41 Spider Sea Frenzy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You're right, Bernard. Spiders probably aren't bulletproof. Eugene, or the wizards in general, didn't know much about bullets, but Adam did. But think about the size difference. A bullet might not kill a giant spider outright, but it could definitely enrage it. When Bernard reached for a white phosphorus grenade, Adam added, "From what I know, the only spider that gets that big is a magical creature called the acromantula. They can grow up to 15 feet tall." Bernard paused, silently trying to picture 15 feet. Plus, they usually live in groups. Small groups have dozens, maybe hundreds. Larger groups could have tens of thousands. Considering the Forbidden Forest's environment. Bernard put the grenade away. "Okay, maybe we should turn back. This way seems a little dangerous." Uther, Cologne, and Eugene nodded in agreement. Like the saying goes, discretion is the better part of valor. There's no point rushing headfirst into danger if you know it's there. After walking a bit further, Adam stopped them. "Hold up." Seeing their puzzled looks, he sighed. "I think we're too late." Silence fell. The sound of their footsteps had faded, and a rustling noise coming from all around them became clearer. "We've been spotted. Maybe we were spotted a while ago. Maybe we brushed against a web. Or maybe we just wandered into their territory and they see us as lunch." 15-foot-tall spiders don't just sit around waiting for food to walk into their webs. Everyone's face paled, and they gripped their wands tighter. "Spiders are afraid of fire, right?" Cologne suggested. "But setting a fire in the Forbidden Forest? What if it spreads? Better than getting eaten. Lighting a fire will attract too much attention, and the holidays are coming up. You want me in detention?" Adam clutched his dark staff, scanning their surroundings. "Leave this to me." A massive magic circle appeared beneath Adam's feet, hidden by the layer of humus. The acromantulas lurking in the shadows seemed to sense the danger, and their rustling footsteps faltered for a moment. "First time trying something like this. If it doesn't work, I'll have to ask the trees to handle it." Adam waved the dark staff, channeling magic into the circle and then into the surrounding trees. To the astonishment of Cologne and the others, the trees began to move like living things. Their branches swayed wildly, and their roots, buried deep underground, churned the soil as they grew, spreading outwards. Then, a chorus of chilling roars erupted from all directions. "Those are all acromantulas." Cologne's face turned white. "What kind of magic is this?" Uther, equally pale, stared at Adam in disbelief. "Tree cards let me manipulate trees." Adam was serious. There were far more acromantulas than he'd imagined. It was his first time controlling so many trees at once, and it wasn't easy. The roars grew closer. The Forbidden Forest's trees were so tall that they blocked most of the sunlight, and they could only vaguely make out fangs and claws behind the trees. Maybe it was the tree roots moving under Adam's magic, or maybe it was the legs of the acromantulas, but Cologne and the others hoped it was the former. "Watch out!" A spider climbed up a tree, scurried along the trunk, and leaped towards them. "Ack! Armor charm! Thunderbolt!" Cologne screamed and cast an armor charm, while Uther blasted the spider with a thunderbolt, reducing its basketball-sized head to a smoking mess. "There are more spiders than I thought." Adam frowned, gritting his teeth. "Hundreds? Thousands?" Adam wasn't sure. He only knew that the range of the tree card was overrun with acromantulas. Had they stumbled near an acromantula nest? "Adam, don't overdo it." Uther took a few deep breaths to calm himself. "You don't have to stop all of them. Let some through. Just tell me where, and I can handle one or two." "I can help too," Eugene said grimly, having been momentarily stunned. "My parents taught me some self-defense spells." Bernard paled at the scene, clutching the white phosphorus grenade in his pocket. "The unforgivable curses are awful, but they aren't the only powerful spells." While controlling the trees, Adam kept an eye on the others. He was relieved to see the spiders being dealt with. Noticing Bernard's distress, he stepped closer and whispered, "Wizards aren't safe because of isolation. Don't put too much faith in technology." Bernard glanced at Adam and nodded. "East." Adam warned suddenly. "Which way is east?" "Shatter." Eugene cast a spell, blasting apart half of an acromantula's body, then finished it off with 2 more shatter spells. Seeing Cologne still confused, Uther, who also struggled with directions, shook his head. "The people who can handle the acromantulas should cover a fixed direction. That way Adam can warn them." "Got it." Eugene nodded. "I know the freezing charm. It should slow them down." Cologne's pale face flushed slightly. As a freshman, he'd been proud of the spell, but now. "It's enough, and you have the armor charm to block attacks." "I can also deal with the acromantulas," Bernard said through clenched teeth. "You?" Uther raised an eyebrow. "Do you have enough bullets?" "I'm not using bullets." Bernard put away his gun and gripped his wand. "Trust me. I'm not going to joke with my life." "All right." Uther nodded. The 5 of them formed a circle around Adam, with Uther, Eugene, Cologne, and Bernard each facing a direction. "How many acromantulas can each of you handle at once?" Adam thought for a moment and had an idea. Right now, his magic couldn't use the light, dark, or elemental cloud cards. He had no issue using the others, however. These cloud cards lacked the power to eliminate large targets in groups. If they could scatter them. Chapter 42, The Anger of the Tree Brand. A single tree becomes a forest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 acromantulas charged out from the trees on 2 sides, but Uther and Eugene took them down quick. Adam seemed to be shifting his focus, easing up defenses here because he knew we could handle it. Cologne and Bernard looked a little ticked off, but this wasn't the time for ego trips. Adam wasn't about to let spiders break through just so they could prove something. The acromantulas seemed spooked by what happened to their buddies, slowing their attack. That gave everyone a chance to check in with Adam. "At best, I can take out a dozen, maybe 20 at a time, but I only get 3 or 4 shots like that. After that, I'm down to 2 or 3. Eugene gripped his wand, slipping his other hand into his pocket. "Normally, you can handle 3 or 4. In a pinch, you can deal with a whole bunch, but it's just a temporary fix." Uther took a deep breath, pulling out a necklace from under his shirt and clutching it in his hand. Just like Bernard brought his guns and grenades, they all came packing whatever they could to defend themselves in the forbidden forest. Looks like that was a smart move. Cologne thought for a second. 2, no, 1. He figured he could probably handle 2, but didn't want anything going wrong and dragging everyone else down, so he played it safe. 1, Bernard said without a second thought. The others were curious where his confidence came from, but they trusted him. "That's enough." Adam nodded. Things were better than he'd expected. "We can't just keep doing this. There are hundreds of those things out there." Everyone's faces fell. Did every single one of those creepy crawlies decide to hang out here? I think we stumbled into their nest. They were probably watching us from the shadows the whole time. Bernard's words sent a chill down everyone's spine. Uther tightened his grip on his wand. "Too late for that now." "What's the plan, Adam?" "I can deal with them, but it'll take a minute." "How long?" Eugene cut to the chase. "Just a sec, 3 or 4 seconds maybe." "Why not just do it?" "I can't hold my magic that long. The trees are already holding back hundreds of them." Adam heard the others gasp. "I'll use the trees to take down a bunch of spiders, hopefully scare the rest, then collapse the trees to make a barrier. But some will still get through. I'm guessing at least 10. If they break through." "Got it. We'll handle it," Uther said with a grin. "If things get hairy, we'll torch the place. Like Cologne said, better to be locked up than dead." "Yeah, but can you really scare off giant spiders with fire?" "I know the fire spell." Uther shut down Cologne's question with one sentence. The four of them looked at Adam. Just do it. All right. Adam closed his eyes, focusing on controlling the trees. Then, he snapped his eyes open. Get ready, the tip of the dark staff tapped the ground, and the trees went wild. Boom, with a series of crashes, the trees surrounding them expanded and then collapsed inward, shaking the ground. The acromantulas paused for a second, then there was a brief silence, before three huge black figures climbed over the fallen trees toward them. Thank goodness there are only three. The group thought, just as the four of them were thinking this, two more black figures couldn't help but climb over the barrier, followed by four more. They had to deal with these spiders fast, or the rest would rush in after them. The thought hit them all at once, and they raised their wands. Shattered to pieces. Thunderbolt explosion. The ice freezes. Heartbreaking and bone-cutting. Adam didn't waste a second. The seal is lifted. The rod of darkness struck the tree card, and vines burst from it. The tree card elf, barely covered by leaves, slowly opened her eyes and looked at Adam. No time to explain. Use your magic to trap these spiders. Adam drew the cloud card. A puzzle card with a maze on its face can create a large-scale maze. First, use tree cards to circle the acromantula within a certain range, and then use a maze to put them in. Relying on these two cloud cards to trap the acromantula in the maze, they can take the opportunity to escape. The tree card reached out and gently grabbed Adam's hand. No need to bother. Although the tree card isn't one of the most powerful, it's still strong enough to speak. She stared at the spiders charging toward them, and a fierce look flashed in her eyes. Get rid of them all. Instead of the surrounding trees, the tree card used Adam's magic, and a sapling shot up from the ground. In a blink, it was as big around as 4 or 5 people could hug. Adam stared at the smooth trunk and the aerial roots dangling from the branches. A banyan tree. Before he could react, the tree card controlled the banyan tree, launching its attack. Countless aerial roots flew toward the giant spiders. More flexible than tree roots, the magic sharpened ends pierced into the spiders' bodies. The next moment, roots, branches, a mess of tree parts burst from the spiders' eyeballs, spinnerets, and joints. Soon, each spider was a small banyan tree, which took root in the soil and grew fast. Now the tree card had even more aerial roots to control. The group, finally able to relax and catch their breath, saw this and their hair stood on end. Finally, the tree card stopped and looked at Adam. They ran off. Chasing them will take too much of your magic. Adam's face was pale. This is enough. To be honest, the energy drain was more than he expected. But the tree card's power was beyond what he imagined too. Staring at the sight of a single tree becoming a forest, Adam was speechless. Take care of yourself. Come to me next time you're in trouble. The tree card touched Adam's cheek and returned to the cloud cards in a swirl of vines and branches. What in the world was that? Uther asked, dazed. The elf inside the cloud cards. Adam looked at the tree card in his hand. Each one has its own life. They're living magic. That's how they can act on their own and be so powerful. Oh. Uther nodded, not saying anything else in front of the cards. Then, like a sudden thought, he looked at Bernard with a complicated expression. Chapter 43, Bathroom Chat, Bernard's Doubts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Following Uther and Cologne, Eugene's gaze also landed on Bernard. Apparently, more than one student who wasn't paying attention had finally noticed Hua Dian amidst the chaos. Bernard, you just... Yeah, that was the Cruciatus curse. Bernard readily admitted it, then faced his roommates. Are you going to report me to the Ministry of Magic? He knew from their previous study sessions that using an unforgivable curse meant a one-way ticket to Azkaban, the wizard prison. Silence hung in the air. Those who use the unforgivable curses can't be forgiven. Adam, who'd already pocketed the tree sign, spoke up. But Bernard only cast the Cruciatus curse to protect us. Wizarding law didn't have an exception clause, but laws were made for people. and most people wouldn't punish someone for acting in defense of others. It was obvious that no one would report Bernard for using the unforgivable curse to protect them. After a beat, Adam suggested, "Why don't we head back? Even though we're deep in the forbidden forest, we're still making a ton of noise." Agreed. Me too. Why did you choose to cast the unforgivable curse in front of us? Later that evening, Adam intentionally delayed his shower, and Bernard did the same. They were the only two in the bathroom. Since the topic was sensitive, Adam cast a silencing charm, ensuring their conversation wouldn't reach any unintended ears, not even portraits, ghosts, or peeves. It was a life-or-death situation. "I just used what I knew," Bernard said, turning to Adam as he began to lather up. "Eugene and Uther both said they could handle it, and it wasn't as dangerous as you made it out to be," Adam countered, not buying it. "You knew the unforgivable curse, but if you'd been careful and practiced in secret, you could have kept it hidden. Why expose yourself like that? Then why did you cover for me before?" Bernard met Adam's gaze. "Those who use unforgivable curses can't be forgiven. You said it yourself. This isn't the first time you've seen me cast the unforgivable curse, is it? The last time I cast the Cruciatus curse, it wasn't for self-defense, so why did you just turn a blind eye?" Adam closed his eyes. The last time he'd seen Bernard use the Cruciatus curse, it was in an abandoned classroom at the end of the corridor, where Adam kept his mandrakes because of the great sunlight. Passing by a certain classroom, he'd noticed the magical energy and heard a heart-wrenching sound before opening the door. It was a familiar voice. Without opening the door, Adam stood there for a moment, then kept walking. Apparently, Bernard knew all along, so. "You did that on purpose," Adam stated. "Yeah, I did. Your movements weren't hard to predict if you paid attention." Bernard shrugged, tilting his head back to let the hot water wash over his face. "What are you trying to prove? Don't you know this is risky?" "What's the risk?" Bernard opened his mouth, letting the water flow in, slurring his words. Adam finished lathering up, set the soap aside, and looked directly at Bernard. "If either me or Eugene reported you to the Ministry of Magic, a simple memory charm would land you in Azkaban for life, as neighbors with Dementors. You think your parents would threaten Sangamo to take the Ministry of Magic to court?" Dementors, Wisengamot, new terms. Got it. Bernard. Bernard wiped his face and looked at Adam. "Look, I'm still here. You think this is a game?" Adam asked, baffled. "No, I just wanted to see if our friendship was really that strong." Adam looked at Bernard, now with a touch of concern mixed with his confusion. Maybe he should find a mental institution. "Do you know what it's like being a lawyer's kid, actually, two lawyers' kid?" Bernard's eyes glazed over, lost in thought. "Marriage, debt, finance. My parents tried to keep their documents away from me, but you know how it is, the more you're told not to do something, the more appealing it becomes. So while other kids were listening to fairy tales, I was exposed to real-life stories. They saw princesses and princes living happily ever after, while I was hearing about a woman storing her ex-husband's body in a freezer after he cheated." Adam swallowed hard. "So I've always wondered, are emotions really that strong? Is there real, pure, beautiful emotion between people? Or is everyone wearing a mask, using words like love and friendship to hide self-interest? It's always been on my mind. I'm grateful to Hogwarts for this opportunity. Otherwise, I think I would do something even worse." Adam couldn't help but ask, "Do your parents have a bad relationship?" "I actually think their relationship is pretty good. Although there are frictions, they are minor disagreements in normal life. But maybe I just don't see the problem. I can't actually test their feelings, and there's no way to try." "So you're putting your future on the line to test our relationship?" Adam asked, aghast. "We've only known each other for a year. But you have to admit that, despite our differences, we get along surprisingly well, don't we?" Bernard spread his hands. "The friendship between the 5 people in any dormitory is as good as ours. Although there have been some frictions between us, they have been resolved very well. this relationship between roommates is simply perfect and that between my parents. The marriage between them is exactly the same. I still don't get it. That's fine. No one can completely understand another person's thoughts. It's good to seek common ground while reserving differences, just like we have been doing this year. It could be said that they were very different in various aspects such as living habits and personalities, but they could live together well and respect and accept each other's differences. So back to that question. Bernard looked at Adam again. Why didn't you report me when you first saw me casting the unforgivable curse? Because I saw it. What? I saw who you cast the unforgivable curse on. Bernard's eyes widened slightly. How did you do that? Clow card. The Cien Pai's magic can recall the past. After that, I returned to your classroom at that time. Adam looked at Bernard and said, I saw, you were using Cruciatus on a stone. Chapter 44, Promise at the End of the School Year. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The reason the unforgivable curses are unforgivable boils down to the extreme emotions it takes to cast them. It's the sheer, cold-blooded intent to kill, torture, or control someone that lands you in Azkaban. To even contemplate such an act and then actually do it, that's what makes the unforgivable curses so dangerous. That's why you can't just practice the Cruciatus curse on a rock unless you genuinely want to inflict pain on that rock. Adam looked at Bernard, who suddenly seemed flustered. He said calmly, I wouldn't be so sure if you'd picked a cockroach or a flobberworm. He'd rather torture the idea of a rock than a living thing. I was covering my butt. Bernard stammered. If you'd ratted me out, Bernard blurted, his face reddening, you could have used the replay charm and seen that I never actually used the Cruciatus curse. Replay charms only work on living subjects, and stones obviously don't qualify. So why didn't you cover your butt this time? Adam watched Bernard struggle for an answer and smiled slightly. Seriously, why put yourself through this? You're the one who's harboring these dark desires, right? Otherwise, why go to such lengths to test our friendship? You could have picked a method that didn't involve. Seeing Bernard's frustration, Adam quickly changed the subject. Your covering your butt strategy might fly with muggles, since their police have limited resources when it comes to gathering evidence. But wizards have Veritaserum and even Pensieves to replay memories. Our headmaster has one in his office. Don't try pulling stunts like that again, or you'll be in deep trouble. Bernard was taken aback. He nodded. Speaking of which, what were you talking about earlier with the Dementors and the Wizengamot? Dementors are the guards of Azkaban. They're a type of. Caught up in their conversation, they were both a little embarrassed to see how wrinkled their fingers had become as they got dressed. Back in the dorm, while their roommates wondered what had taken them so long, Bernard volunteered to explain what had happened during the day. The roommates all wore the same bewildered expressions Adam had when he first heard the story. It was hard to wrap your head around, but it wasn't like they needed to forgive him, since Bernard's using the Cruciatus curse to protect them during the day didn't seem to be something that needed to be forgiven. Let's try to avoid any more crazy stuff like that, Uther sighed. Don't use an unforgivable curse unless your life is actually on the line. Adam's gaze shifted to Uther. Easy there, sounds like you're talking from experience. No one mentioned the incident again, and before they knew it, it was time for the end-of-year feast. The only news about Harry was that he'd missed the final Quidditch match, which meant Slytherin had clinched the House Cup once again. Between that and all the points Gryffindor had lost thanks to Harry and his friends, Slytherin was pretty much guaranteed to win the House Cup again this year, right? Don't worry about that yet. How about a taro pastry? Professor Dumbledore announced the current house points at the head table, while Adam passed around snacks to his roommates. After handing them out, Adam slipped one to Cedric, who looked bummed. It was still warm, like it had just been made. Cedric took a bite while it was hot. The sweet taro filling and the crispy crust made him feel a little better. This is good, you should sell these. Before he could tell Adam his thoughts, Cedric saw Dumbledore walk to the podium. Yes, excellent behavior, Slytherin. After applauding the temporary leader a few times, Professor Dumbledore smiled kindly and continued, as the Slytherins gradually got a bad feeling. However, we must also take into account several recent events. 50 points to Gryffindor. 50 points to Gryffindor. An additional 60 points for Gryffindor. And 10 more points for Gryffindor. That the Slytherins sat there stunned, the golden and red decorations around them reflecting in the candlelight, almost mocking them. What the heck just happened? One Slytherin blurted out. That damn Dumbledore is so biased. Another classmate angrily stabbed his fork into the food on his plate. Shut up, someone hissed. Didn't you see Professor Snape didn't say anything? But that didn't reassure anyone. If Professor Dumbledore was just making up points out of thin air for Gryffindor, Professor Snape wouldn't let it slide. But, he never explained anything. That's what infuriated the Slytherins the most. If they knew how to get 170 points, in response to this thought, Adam said that children, you should not think about such beautiful things, otherwise your parents will be in danger when Voldemort is resurrected. Even though Gryffindor had ultimately won the House Cup, Slytherin was the only unhappy group in the entire hall. But really, who did they think they were? They've been on top before, so it's time to give someone else a chance. Cheers! Adam and his friends clinked their glasses of soda, celebrating Slytherin's defeat. After the feast, everything was calm. The only event before the term ended was the distribution of report cards. Oh my God, Adam, you're a total freak. Cologne yelled from behind Adam, staring at his report card. You sleep through the entire history of magic class. How did you get an outstanding? Eugene patted Cologne on the shoulder to comfort him, but then he looked down at his own outstanding in history of magic and silently withdrew his hand. It's better not to encourage him. Even though no one in the dorm had failed a class, Adam's getting an outstanding in every subject was a bit much, so the other four insisted he cook them a delicious meal to make up for it. So they had hot pot that night at the round table in their dorm. Even though the four had teased Adam for taking the easy way out, the cook-your-own-food style of the hot pot was a surprising success. Okay, here's the plan, Uther said, putting shrimp into the hot pot. Come visit me in Egypt during the break. We'll try, everyone said, while everyone nodded. Going abroad wasn't their decision to make, it wasn't about the money, they all had plenty. But their parents were busy. They couldn't just fly themselves to Egypt. If it's too hard, I can ask my dad to talk to the British Ministry of Magic. Easy, don't trouble your dad, Adam said, cutting off Uther's plan. His dad was the Minister of Magic in Egypt. They didn't need to take it to the diplomatic level for a couple of kids going on vacation. Let's talk to our parents first, at least one of them should have some time off. If all else fails, I can ask my grandparents. And if that doesn't work, we can meet up and have my parents take me along. Chapter 45 Back Home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bye. Most parents were waiting at the platform. Adam said goodbye to his friends and spotted his grandparents. Sweetheart, how was Hogwarts? Adam hugged them both, grinning. It was awesome. I made some great friends. That's wonderful. Emma ruffled his hair. Come on, your parents are waiting for you at King's Cross. They're here too? Adam was surprised and rushed ahead onto platform 9 3/4. Sure enough, Mr. Reed and Misley were watching him. Oh, honey, Misley, not usually one for big displays of emotion, hurried over, hugged Adam tightly, and rested his head on her shoulder. You've gotten so tall. Of course, Mom, it's been a year. Adam stepped back and looked at Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed just nodded, keeping his distance. Adam wasn't surprised. His father's parenting style was always changing, it was all an act. In a few days, he'd be back to normal. He wondered which employee's parenting tips he'd picked up this time, or what script he was following. Were you in any danger at school? Some stuff happened, but it didn't involve me. Good. Mr. Reed pulled a Coke bottle out of his pocket. Welcome home. *O, here comes the tough guy with a soft center dad routine, *, because British dentists practically rob you blind. Mr. Reed and Misley were pretty strict about Adam's teeth. He rarely got to drink sugary soda. Happy water had always made Adam happy. Despite now supposedly having free reign with soda, Adam still reached for the Coke, but Mr. Reed pulled it away, then fumbled with the cap. After about 10 seconds of turning red, he sheepishly pulled a bottle opener from his other pocket, *pop*. Thanks, Dad. Adam barely kept from laughing as he took a swig. Ahem, Mr. Reed coughed, embarrassed under the amused gazes of his wife and parents. We should head home. You probably didn't get anything good to eat on the train, right? We've got a feast waiting. Knowing exactly that, Adam had watched his friends show off their food on the train but hadn't touched a thing, intentionally saving his appetite. Okay. Egypt. During dinner, Adam brought up the idea of going to Egypt with his classmates for some team building. As expected, his parents hesitated. This classmate. His name is Uther Ramesses. Predictably, the surname caught their attention, but his grandparents seemed unfazed. His father is the Egyptian Minister of Magic. Now his grandparents perked up. Ramesses? X2. Minister of Magic? X2. The two couples exchanged glances, then started firing off questions, which Adam answered and corrected. A descendant of the pharaohs, no wonder he's the top wizard in Egypt. Mr. Reed nodded, then looked at Adam. If that's the case, you should be safe. Your mother and I could probably take time off, but the problem is, we're muggles. Clearly, Mr. Reed had been learning about the wizarding world from his parents. Adam frowned. That was a problem. Even if Uther and his friends didn't discriminate against squibs, Adam couldn't guarantee that other wizards wouldn't. Sure, they'd be in places where magic users gathered, so no need to worry about being subtle, but if he ran into trouble, he couldn't just whip out the dark rod and claw cards in front of his parents and conjure up a 10-year tree or a 10-second tree, could he? And even if he won, he couldn't erase the psychological damage to his parents. Wait, can canceling cards erase memories? No, had he been around Bernard, the guy who could be tortured and cuffed, too long? Were his thoughts getting dangerous? How could someone with such a pure heart even think of that? It must be Bernard's influence. How about we take Adam? Old Reed looked eager. I've never been to Egypt. I'm good with that. But Adam, do you remember? Emma looked at Adam. Of course, Grandma. Adam winked, reassuring her that he hadn't forgotten. What are you two talking about? Mr. Reed's eyes darted between his son and his mother. According to his employees, grandparents and grandchildren often became super close, and Mr. Reed was seeing that firsthand. It's nothing, Dad. It's a secret between Grandma and me. Mr. Reed glared at them both, then took a bite of his food in defeat. That night, Adam went to his room and released Shao-Ku, Sibby, and Aries, the owls Adam had bought in Diagon Alley with his grandparents before school. Aries was a male snowy owl. Adam had named him with high hopes, and he hadn't disappointed. He had a great personality, was a skilled hunter, and was good at delivering letters, but when Adam opened the cage, he noticed Aries looked listless. What's wrong? Huh? Is he hungry? Adam checked and saw the food bowl was full, even more than expected. No appetite. Was it the train ride? Doesn't seem like it. Could he be sick? Aries didn't improve. Adam was wondering whether to send Aries to St. Mungo's or Elop's Owl Emporium in Diagon Alley when SPI spoke up. I think he seems down. Down? Adam was shocked. What could an owl be down about? Did I not have him deliver mail lately? Aries loves his job. Wait, SPI, you can tell if an owl's depressed. You just feel it with your heart. Use your heart? SPI sounded so convincing, Adam believed him. SPI was the sealed beast in charge of the hidden cards, and many of the Clow cards under his command were emotional and spiritual. So, what should I do? Have Aries deliver a letter? It doesn't seem like he's sad because he's not delivering mail. Sib kept staring at Aries for a moment, then tilted his head. He seems to be, lovesick. Chapter 46 The Story of Nicolas Flamel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cough. 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 Adam gasped, choking on his own spit. He pounded his chest and gulped down more water until he finally caught his breath. Worried voices called from downstairs, and even Aries, looking bummed, gave him a concerned glance. I'm okay. Just swallowed wrong. Adam shouted down. He shut the door, scooped up Aries, and plopped down on the little sofa in the corner. Sibby, you sure about this? Don't go spreading rumors if you're not. Aries is only 3. He's practically a baby. Adam rubbed Aries' fluffy head. Earth to Adam. Remember he's a snowy owl. Sibby said, exasperated. Adam blinked. Oh, right. Yeah, that makes sense. So, how old do snowy owls get before they, do that? Beats me. Sibby yawned from the bed, twitching his tail. Adam stared at Aries, lost in thought. Could he really be lovesick? It wasn't impossible. Snowy owls are seriously committed birds. They're one of the few species that sticks to monogamy. You hardly ever see them playing the field, even when there's plenty of food to go around, so. Aries, you find yourself a girlfriend over at the Ollery? Goo. Aries hid his face in his wings. Adam's eyes widened. Whoa. It's true. Don't be shy. Who's the lucky owl? Is she nice? Come on, spill. Adam's gossip gears were spinning. He kept poking at Aries' feathers, until Aries had had enough and retreated to his cage. Don't hide. At least tell me who she is. If I know her owner, I can drop them a line and maybe you two can hook up. Goo. Aries, who had been facing away, swiveled his head around to look. Yeah, I'm serious. Who is she? Oh, right. You can't talk. Adam frowned. They didn't have owl-sized photos or anything. Besides, all the Hogwarts owls were at the Ollery. How was he supposed to know every single one? But, come to think of it, a snowy owl probably only goes for other snowy owls, right? There aren't that many snowy owls at Hogwarts. Because of their striking white feathers, snowy owls were the luxury cars of the bird world. Adam figured he'd only seen maybe 10 in the Ollery, tops. He knew the owners of 3 of them, at least. He hoped to hell the object of Aries' affection belonged to one of them. Since Aries couldn't exactly give him a name, Adam decided to write letters to all 3 owners and have Aries deliver them. Turns out, the first letter was a hit. It's Hedwig. Seriously? Adam was floored. He'd originally gotten a snowy owl because of Hedwig. Talk about coming full circle. Hiss hiss. Aries flapped his wings and hooted, making a noise totally different from his usual coo. Adam figured he knew what that meant. I mean, living with Harry, how great could Hedwig's life be? But what am I supposed to do? Walk up to Harry and say, hey, Harry, my owl's got a crush on your owl. Hedwig's suffering with you anyway, so how about you just let her come live with us? Aries silently retreated to his cage again. Adam threw up his hands. Fine, why don't you go try and convince Hedwig to elope with you? I can afford another owl. Last night, when Misley asked how much school cost and if he needed more money, Adam hadn't known what to say. His biggest expense this year had been investing in the twins' business, but he'd already made a killing off just one Christmas dinner. Aries perked up a bit at the elope part, but still refused to make eye contact. Adam gave up. He'd let Aries sulk. He had an appointment to keep with Nicolas Flamel. Using the transfer card in Clough's deck, he teleported himself to Nicolas Flamel's house. After knocking, Nicolas Flamel slowly opened the door. He looked surprised to see Adam alone. Your grandmother didn't come? No. Mr. Flamel, I came by myself. Adam wasn't sure what to call him yet, so he just stuck with Mr. As he spoke. He subtly waved the wand of darkness. Nicolas Flamel noticed its unique design, and a flicker of curiosity crossed his face, but that was all. Looks like our little Adam's got a few secrets of his own. Please, come in. Nicolas Flamel took tiny, shuffling steps, taking about 5 times as long as Adam to reach the sofa and sit down. "Do you know why I asked you here?" Nicolas Flamel asked with a smile. Adam shook his head. He honestly had no clue. The Philosopher's Stone has been destroyed. Even though he already knew, hearing it from Nicolas Flamel himself still hit him like a punch to the gut. It was like hearing, "I'm about to die." Yes, I'm dying. And I wanted to tell my story to someone. But the people I know are all old men, and the story of an old man isn't going to be all that interesting to another old man. Luckily, I met you, little Adam. Nicolas Flamel smiled. Would you like to hear my story? Of course. How could Adam not be interested in Nicolas Flamel's life? Under Adam's eager gaze, Nicolas Flamel began. 665 years ago. Nicolas Flamel told the story of his life before he created the Philosopher's Stone in detail, but Adam didn't mind. Life in France 6 centuries ago sounded pretty interesting, but that period only made up a tiny sliver of Nicolas Flamel's life. He soon moved on to the Philosopher's Stone. When I actually refined the Philosopher's Stone, I couldn't believe it. But then I used it to make the first piece of pure gold, the first elixir of life. That's when I realized I'd really achieved the pinnacle of alchemy. The story of creating the Philosopher's Stone felt a bit like a power fantasy, but Nicolas Flamel's tale didn't stay in that lane for long. This wasn't the world of Full Metal Alchemist. The Philosopher's Stone didn't grant him incredible powers. Soon, Nicolas Flamel and his wife were forced into hiding, pursued by those who coveted his discovery. And then, the story seemed to reach the part Nicolas Flamel really wanted to tell. I was once immensely proud of my achievement in refining the Philosopher's Stone. In my 665 years of life, I spent nearly half of that time trying to replicate my initial success. But after 300 years of countless failures, my last hope crumbled. I had to admit that all the honors the world had bestowed upon me were due to a fluke. I hadn't actually mastered the ability to refine the Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone was just a wonderful coincidence, nothing more. Chapter 47, Nicolas Flamel #039, S gift. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But just as I stormed out of the lab, frustrated, Paranel invited me to dinner, just like he had for the past 300 years, must have been hundreds of thousands of days and nights. That's when it hit me. What a dumb thing I'd done. I'd tossed aside all the good things in my life and spent 3 centuries chasing a rock. But I'd woken up too late. My wife had gone from a vibrant young woman to a gray-haired, shuffling old lady. From then on, I never gave the Philosopher's Stone another thought and focused on living with Paranel. Over the years, we traveled to most countries in the world. Nico Flamel sipped his red tea, smiled at the curious Adam, and continued, the elixir of life can only prevent death from old age, it doesn't stop the aging process. It's like Zeus's gift to Tithonus. So over the years, Paranel and I became osteoporotic, our pace slowed, we can't even eat food that needs chewing anymore. Luckily, the elixir's a potion. Plus, we can still enjoy some black tea, hot cocoa, and things like that, even though my body's aging. And even though the people we knew have passed on, I'm still drawn to this world. I always imagined we could live here together forever, but a few years ago, Paranel told me she was tired. Nico Flamel's voice grew a little sad. After I pressed her, she admitted her sense of taste had disappeared long ago. Even black tea tasted like water. She was just tired of living. That's when I realized maybe we should have moved on a long time ago, but we stayed in a place where we didn't belong for too long, because of something not that important. So, when Dumbledore asked if he could borrow the Philosopher's Stone, even knowing it would be destroyed, I agreed. It's time for Paranel and me to head to the next stop. Life, which has been silent for hundreds of years, is finally going to usher in some unprecedented changes. The most gratifying thing is that Paranel will be with me. There is nothing more joyful than this in the world. Nico Flamel couldn't help laughing, and you could tell he was genuinely happy. Adam understood what Nico Flamel was saying. For someone who'd lived over 600 years, his wife was the biggest thing in the world. Without her, living longer would just mean drinking a few more cups of black tea, red wine, things he'd been drinking for centuries. It wouldn't mean anything, if living became torture for his wife, then embracing death might not be such a bad idea. For this couple, death was just another great adventure. For the first time, Adam truly understood the meaning of that. At that moment, Adam gave up the idea of giving Nico Flamel another Philosopher's Stone. He really didn't need it anymore. Sorry to bore you with an old man's story, please don't say that, Mr. Flamel. I'm honored. Adam was sincere. Not only had he gained intangible benefits from hearing the life story of a legendary figure like Nico Flamel, but there was also the tangible benefit of increased magical power. Magic is closely tied to the soul and the heart. Nico Flamel's legendary life, including his understanding of death, had helped Adam even more than the knowledge he'd learned this year. Glad to hear it. Nico Flamel could see that the relative in front of him, who had a very thin blood relationship with him, had not deceived him, and he smiled happily. As a reward for fulfilling my last wish, I'd like to give you some gifts. You could also think of it as an inheritance. After all, you and your grandmother are the only blood relatives I have left in the world. Adam blinked and watched Nico Flamel stand up, walk to the cabinet where the magic stone was previously placed, and waved to him, come over here. Forgive an old man over 600 who can no longer carry such heavy things. Oh my God, how old was I when I put them here? I was really energetic back then. Adam quickly went to Nico Flamel's side. The gifts I want to give you are all in this cabinet. Nico Flamel patted the cabinet next to him and then pointed to the books on the top shelf. First, the book that changed my life. As soon as he said that, Adam knew what it was. Sure enough, Nico Flamel continued, the Book of Abraham the Jew. Although refining the Philosopher's Stone turned out to be just an accident, this book still means a lot to me. I hope you won't just use it as a stepping stone. I'll take good care of it. Adam nodded solemnly. You don't need to be so serious. I was just kidding. It doesn't matter if you use it as a table leg. Nico Flamel smiled. The second shelf of the cabinet was originally where the magic stone was kept, but now there were several small bottles containing bright red liquid that looked like blood. These are the elixir, and its formula. Nico Flamel took a bottle and a small piece of paper, and put them in Adam's hand. Adam's eyes widened, as Nico Flamel smiled. The existence of the Philosopher's Stone isn't a secret to many people. Although your connection to it is very weak, and Dumbledore might not be able to detect it, I've been with it day and night for 600 years, don't worry about me, an old man with only a few days left, leaking your secret. This seems to be a symbol, child. One magic stone is destroyed, and another is born. An old couple gives it up to embrace death. The magic stone reappears in the world in the hands of a child. At the same time, this seems to confirm my guess. The success of the Philosopher's Stone really was just a coincidence, but it doesn't seem quite that coincidental, does it? This world is so wonderful. Putting the bottle of elixir and the formula into Adam's hand, Nico Flamel said, take this, child. I hope you won't make the same mistake I did and use the life the Philosopher's Stone brings you on things you find truly meaningful. Chapter 48 The End of Nicolas Flamel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There was another, really thick book on the top shelf. Nico Flamel asked Adam to take it down and put it on the table. This is kind of like a contacts book. A hint of nostalgia crossed Nico Flamel's face as he patted the cover. Emma tells me you're just getting into the wizarding world. You've seen the moving and talking portraits at Hogwarts, right? Well, I've made a few friends over the years, and some of them, worried I'd get lonely, gifted me their portraits. Unfortunately, an old guy like me has to take off after just meeting you, so I want you to have this book. I hope these friends can help you out when Perenelle and I can't. Nico Flamel gently pushed the book towards Adam. Everyone in here was a legend in their time. They lived much more exciting lives than this old man. These portraits took a lot of work to create. They're not real people, but they think just like they did. When you're feeling lost, try asking them for help. Don't be shy, I already told them you might. Adam swallowed and touched the cover. Are you and Madam's portraits in here too? Sorry, kid. We didn't have time to get ours done. Then maybe I could have a picture of you. Nico Flamel seemed surprised, then reached out to pat Adam's head. Of course. Then, as if a thought struck him, Nico Flamel added, oh, by the way, the last 2 portraits in this book belong to people who are still alive. If you ever get into real trouble, try contacting them through the portraits, assuming they keep their portraits handy. 2 portraits, who are they? One is your headmaster, Albus Dumbledore. The other is another Hogwarts kid. You might have heard of him. His name is Newt Scamander. Newt Scamander. Adam's eyes lit up, oblivious to Adam's inner thoughts. Nico Flamel led him back to the sofa. Here, kid. Take this. Open it up and have a look. Nico Flamel handed Adam a slightly yellowed piece of parchment. It was covered in dense writing. What's this? These are the addresses of 192 properties I own around the world, including the one we're standing in. They're all protected by the Fidelius charm. They're yours now. Nico Flamel said casually. He and his wife, while traveling the world, didn't want to stay in hotels, so they just bought a property wherever they went. Money was no object. Nico Flamel waved his hand over the parchment. A few scattered addresses were marked in red. These are the ones that other people besides Perenelle and I know about. No need for further explanation. One sentence was enough. Adam nodded, rolled the parchment back up, and put it away. Nico Flamel's last gift was a key. This is the key to Gringotts Vault 4. Nico Flamel took the key from his pocket and placed it in Adam's hand. There's no gold in there, but I don't think you need it. Nico Flamel smiled at the new owner of the Sorcerer's Stone. When you open the vault, you'll see a pile of papers. Those are my notes on alchemy and magic. If you're not interested, please donate them to mine and Perenelle's alma mater, Beauxbatons. The other half of the vault is filled with my collections and inventions, nothing too precious, but some pretty interesting stuff. I hope you like it. Saying so much, sharing stories and passing on his legacy clearly took a toll on Nico Flamel, but he seemed excited. After handing Adam the final key, Nico Flamel sent him on his way, refusing Adam's offer to attend their funeral. We're not planning a funeral. After meeting you, I've said everything I wanted to say to everyone I wanted to say goodbye to. Let us enjoy the peace and quiet for our last moments. The LeMay couple had planned their death, so they were extremely calm about it. They could say goodbye to everyone they wanted to, without needing a funeral. After telling Adam when he and Perenelle would die and where they would be buried, and giving Adam the requested photo, Nico Flamel closed the door. Adam stared at the door in a daze. He knew this was the last time he would see Nico Flamel. What's wrong, Adam? Xiao Ku, still working on their cake, looked up at Adam. Sibby shrugged. How should I know? He mumbled. Why don't you put down your fork and ask? No way. You'll just eat the rest of the cake. That's slander. Hearing the 2 sealed beasts bickering, Adam snapped back to reality and chuckled at the furry furballs. Nicolas Flamel's story had come to a perfect end, and Adam's had just begun, hadn't it? Justice from above. A cat that was a little too big for Xiao Ku and Sibby in energy-saving mode joined the fray. Hey! Adam! Over here. The ever-energetic Cologne was the most active one in the group. Adam heard his shout the moment he entered the airport. When he walked over, Bernard and Cologne were already there. Cologne was accompanied by a woman. Bernard stood alone. My parents have a long-standing client appointment, and it's not convenient for ordinary people to go. Just as Adam had suspected. Adam, long time no see. My parents are busy too. This is my sister, Kelly. Adam, this is the Adam I mentioned. Hi. Kelly looked Adam up and down, obviously curious about the roommate her brother had described as so magical. Hi. Adam replied, introducing his grandfather, who had come along. Emma hadn't joined, possibly still upset about the Flamel couple's passing. Now we're just waiting for Eugene. Oh, he's here. Cologne had just raised his hand in greeting when he stopped short in surprise. Eugene's outfit. Wow. Long time no see. Dressed in what looked like an expedition suit from a movie, carrying a huge bag, and accompanied by a similarly dressed elderly woman, Eugene nodded to the group. My parents are busy. this is my grandmother. Hello, everyone. Eugene's grandmother seemed very kind. From Eugene's personality, one could probably guess what kind of person his grandmother was. With everyone present, the flight was delayed, as expected. Anyone hungry? As lunchtime approached, Adam opened the backpack, expanded with the wheel card, and pulled out a bunch of packaged rice balls. I've got 4 flavors: teriyaki eel, black pepper beef, honey barbecue pork, and veggie mayonnaise. Chapter 49 Journey to Egypt. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The beef, generously portioned and without a hint of fishiness, and the perfectly cooked rice danced between her lips and teeth. The rice, steamed with vegetable juice, offered nutrition without sacrificing the joy of the meat, while the black pepper sauce added a soul-stirring touch to the rice ball. Every ingredient blended seamlessly, creating a food symphony that was utterly intoxicating. Kelly, with a mouthful of the black pepper beef rice ball, excitedly thumped her brother on the shoulder. You're right. Adam's cooking is out of this world. Is he really going to open a shop in Hogsmeade? When? Whoa, Kelly, easy on the shoulder. You'll make me drop it. At least wait until after graduation. Ugh, why can't you graduate now? Kelly sighed dramatically. Eugene and their grandmother both loved fish, so the sweet teriyaki eel rice balls, with all the bones removed, were a total hit with them. Oh my gosh, Adam, you're even better than your parents. Old Reed was trying his grandson's cooking for the first time and was clearly impressed. It's just a bummer that underage wizards can't use magic at home, or I could whip up even more amazing stuff. Adam sighed. It was a shame his parents didn't live in a ministry-approved wizarding residence, then he wouldn't have to worry about casting spells at home. It's a shame Uther isn't here. Cologne said wistfully. Speaking of which, do we have to eat Egyptian food when we go? I bet it won't be as good as Adam's. But hey, it's Egypt. I'm still stoked. Time flew by as everyone chatted, and the plane, delayed by 2 hours, finally touched down at Cairo International Airport 3 hours later. Here we are. Adam's family's flight info wasn't a secret to Uther's family, so they were already waiting at the arrival's gate. The 5 dormmates were reunited. Wow, Uther, so this is how you dress at home. Cologne looked Uther up and down, clearly surprised. What's wrong? Uther glanced at himself, wearing a completely normal calasiris. Don't you wear, Cologne made a circling motion around his head. Uther's mouth twitched. There's no way I'd wear that outside. Rolling his eyes at Cologne's wild imagination, Uther shook his head. I'll take you to my place first. My parents are at the ministry and won't be back until evening. Okay. Arriving at Uther's house, Cologne was visibly disappointed. I thought you'd live in a pyramid. Not just a villa in an oasis. The pyramids are pharaoh's tombs, nobody lives in them. Uther held his head in his hands. But pyramids are awesome. Would you sleep in a coffin just because it's awesome? Don't you have a mummy at home? No. Who keeps a corpse at home? I heard mummies stuffed with spices don't even smell, right? Is the smell the issue? After a tiring round of questions and answers, they finally sat down at the dining table. Dinner will be a pretty big deal, so let's just have some fruit first. Is this cactus fruit? Adam picked out a familiar, if slightly immature, fruit from the spread. Yup. Cut it open and eat the inside, it's like dragon fruit. Uther sliced one open with a knife, carefully removed a small, thorny piece, and handed it to Adam. But you gotta take off these spiky bits first. Adam tasted it, his eyes widening. This is really good. Sweet, that while not as delicate as dragon fruit and with tougher seeds, it had a surprisingly sweet taste. Why is mine sour? Cologne grimaced. Oh, you gotta watch out for that one. Not all of them are sweet. Uther looked perfectly innocent. When seating everyone, he definitely hadn't deliberately put Cologne where the sour fruits were more plentiful. Usually, they're a little sweet and sour, it's delicious. Everyone who tried the cactus fruit gave it good reviews, considering there were older folks at the table. Uther had the servants juice fruits that were hard to chew, like sugarcane, and separate fruits that were hard to eat, like pomegranates. There were also tons of other fruits like dates and bananas, most of which were super sweet. The Egyptian climate was perfect for growing fruit. Adam recalled that Nicolas Flamel had left him some property in Egypt. Maybe he should check if there was any land he could farm. Nah, probably not, and even if there was, Adam wouldn't have time to manage it. Yup, modifying fruits was still easier with gone cards. Probably no need to bother with modifying non-sweet fruits either, even though it was just fruit. Everyone ate a ton of it, just because it was new and interesting. Luckily, fruit digests quickly, so it didn't ruin their appetites for dinner. Uther's parents arrived late, after sunset. Sorry we're late, the department had some urgent documents to deal with today. Uther's father looked apologetic. Hope you weren't waiting too long. Are you hungry? You didn't have to wait for us. It's alright. We had a ton of fruit this afternoon, we're good. Old Reed spoke up. Uther's father nodded at him in a friendly manner. Dinner's coming soon. Before we start, I wanted to thank. Ahem. Uther's mother, a beautiful woman with classic Egyptian makeup, coughed twice when she heard her husband launching into his standard Ministry of Magic speech. Oh. Hee hee. These kids are Uther's roommates and good friends, so we're practically family. Let's not stand on ceremony. Let's eat. After speaking so much official jargon over the years, he wasn't used to casual conversation. As the dishes started arriving, Uther's father eagerly urged everyone to dig in. It might not be as good as yours, but it's pretty unique. Uther and Adam were seated close together, and Uther leaned in to whisper in Adam's ear. Then I'll have to try it carefully. Maybe you can get a taste of home back at Hogwarts. Adam smiled. Uther's eyes lit up. If you need ingredients, I can have my father ship them to the British Ministry of Magic through the International Magical Cooperation Department, then on to Hogwarts. If it makes you happy. Adam just sighed. When you have money and influence, you really can do anything. The Egyptian food was definitely tasty, even if it was a bit rustic. For example, a type of grilled meat similar to maiba was made by mixing minced meat and vegetable spices. It didn't look amazing, but it tasted surprisingly good. Then there was the grilled fish, perfectly prepared with no hint of fishiness. A squeeze of lemon juice made it absolutely divine. Both Adam and Eugene devoured it. Chapter 50 Sphinx. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Pyramid. Mummy. Adam watched them, these two guys practically tripping over themselves to see ancient tombs and corpses. He couldn't help but stay quiet for a moment. Alright. Since you're so eager, we'll hit the pyramid on day one. Adam looked at Uther, surprised. I told you, it's no big deal. The pyramids open to tourists aren't some cheap imitation. It's just that there's nothing really inside. Uther shrugged. Perfect time to see the Sphinx too. Sphinxes, being clever puzzle solvers, are often employed to guard treasures and passages, whether it's in Egypt or elsewhere. In Egypt, that naturally means guarding pyramids and temples, so, whatever Uther's original travel plan was, Cologne and Bernard's enthusiasm forced a detour to the pyramids. They rode in a small bus that seemed normal on the outside, but inside, some kind of stretching spell made it surprisingly spacious. It could easily fit a dozen people comfortably. Fruit, drinks, and ice were readily available. On the way, Uther looked at their excited faces and cautioned, "Look, we're going to see pyramids, but not exactly like you're picturing. The public ones have been handled by the Ministry of Magic. Nothing dangerous can really happen, as long as you don't do anything stupid. Otherwise, Uther's parents would never have let him take them out on his own." "We know." They echoed. Unlike the pyramids near Cairo, this drive took them deep into the desert, several hours before they reached their destination. Even with muggle-repelling charms, these pyramids contain things that made the ancient pharaohs build them way out here, Uther said, stepping out of the bus. For the next few days, I'll show you Cairo, we'll cruise the Nile. Then we're off to Thebes. The Valley of the Kings has tons of pharaoh tombs that are way more interesting than this. Uther grinned. And my personal favorite, the pride of Egypt, Ramesseum. I'll show you what it's really like. Ramesseum, the mortuary temple built by Ramses II, is unmatched in Egyptian history in terms of scale and grandeur. Too bad, the Muggle world just sees ruins. After briefly outlining the next few days, Uther led everyone to a closed pyramid door, running his hand over it from top to bottom. Rumble, with a sound of shifting sand and stone, Uther guided them to the pyramid's other side. What was that just now? Cologne asked, staring curiously at the door, which remained still. That door's a switch, it gets you to the pyramid, not into it. Uther's smile was a little sarcastic. Even if you opened it properly, anyone but a pharaoh's descendant who goes through that door falls into the underworld, never to return. Keep that to yourselves, okay? Bernard piped up. So, have you seen the underworld? Nah, an ancestor once went through it out of curiosity. It was a dead end inside. The long corridor blocked all magic. At the end was a stone wall. Just a linen curtain and a portrait of Anubis at the door. Nothing else. As he spoke, they arrived at the real entrance. Uther tapped a boulder with his wand. From that boulder as the center, over a dozen stones seemed to melt, forming a huge stone door. The paintings on it were as vibrant as if they'd just been painted. Come on in. With a gentle push, the stone door opened inwards, revealing a giant male sphinx. Please tell me, what is, master, that the Sphinx initially thought someone from the Ministry of Magic was there to feed it. It started to recite its new riddle, but caught sight of Uther and quickly swallowed the rest, stepping aside. This is a Sphinx I raised. I call him Hairball. You can look all you want, but try to be polite. Uther glanced at the giant creature. These are my friends. Don't give them any trouble, Hairball. Eugene gawked at the Sphinx. The thing was easily 10 feet tall. The confusion was written on his face. Uther sighed, believe me, Hairball was tiny when he was little, he just grew without me even realizing it. I have a hard time believing you didn't notice that, Eugene grumbled. The others didn't bat an eye. Eugene's grandma was happy, not interested in the Sphinx, and rested with Old Reed and Kelly. Old Reed wasn't particularly interested in magical creatures, a quick look was enough. Kelly had seen a Sphinx before, so she wasn't that excited. Adam walked up to Hairball and reached out to touch it. Adam wasn't interested in the human face, but the body was definitely lion-like. The thick fur looked well-groomed, silky smooth, almost as good as Shauku's fur. Adam, drawing on his Shauku petting experience, unconsciously employed professional techniques. Hairball's tail twitched, becoming a blur. Cologne, uninterested in petting, looked at Uther expectantly. Was Hairball about to ask a riddle? Let's guess. Yeah. You gotta experience a Sphinx's riddle when you meet a Sphinx. Bernard agreed. Hairball perked up, looking at Uther hopefully. Okay, but if you get the Sphinx's riddle wrong, it gets agitated and aggressive. Even though I raised him, I can only guarantee he won't attack. We wouldn't be able to get this close. Let's guess, Adam said, stepping back. He was much more interested in the riddle. If he wanted to pet something, he had options. Seeing everyone agreed, Hairball straightened up proudly. Tell me, what can fly but never walk, has a mouth but never speaks, has a head but never sheds tears, has a bed but never sleeps? Uther raised an eyebrow. He knew Hairball well enough to quickly guess the riddle. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief. This should prevent Hairball from going berserk. Adam thought for a few seconds. Sphinx riddles are never random, they're usually related to their environment. He quickly guessed the answer. Whoever knows the answer, don't shout it out. Write it down, and we'll reveal them together, Eugene suggested, pulling out a notebook, tearing out sheets of paper, and distributing them with pens. You already figured it out? Cologne, still thinking, looked surprised. Not yet. Eugene shook his head, then looked at Uther and Adam, who were already writing. But I think they did.